Dante's Inferno. It's one of those books, right? A true masterpiece, the foundation of so much literature. And let's be honest, it's pretty intimidating. But what if we could just walk through the very beginning and see what makes it so powerful? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to walk with Dante as he takes his first steps into the abyss, and I think you'll see why this 700-year-old journey still hits so hard. Our descent begins now.
Right from the jump, the poem hits you with one of the most famous opening lines ever written. And this isn't just fancy poetry. Dante immediately puts us right there with him, grounding this massive, epic journey in a moment of really personal crisis. See, he's not just telling a story about hell, he's telling a story about being lost. And that's a feeling that is deeply, and sometimes uncomfortably, human.
So where are we exactly? Well, Dante is super specific. It's Good Friday in the year 1300. And our hero, who is basically Dante himself, is 35 years old. Back then, that was considered the absolute midpoint of your life. And he is completely adrift, feeling like he's lost his spiritual and moral compass.
Now this forest dark isn't just a bunch of trees. It's a huge allegory. It stands for that feeling we've all had at some point of being totally turned around, of losing sight of what we're supposed to be doing. For Dante, this isn't just about being confused. This is the forest of sin itself.
He sees a way out, though. He looks up and sees a mountain bathed in sunlight, a pretty clear symbol for God and salvation. So he starts to climb, trying to get out of the shadows. But just as he starts to feel a little bit of hope, his path is blocked. 3 terrifying beasts appear, and they drive him right back into the darkness he's so desperate to escape.
And these aren't just random monsters. No, they represent the very sins that are holding him and, all of us back. First, there's a panther, all sleek and fast, representing worldly pleasure and lust. Then comes this terrifying lion, a symbol of violent pride and ambition. But it's the last one, this starved-looking she-wolf, that really breaks his spirit. She is pure, insatiable greed, and she's so terrifying that he just gives up all hope of reaching the light.
But right then, just as he's falling back into despair, about to give up completely, a figure materializes out of the gloom.
He's terrified, he's desperate, and he cries out for help. He doesn't even care if it's a real person or a ghost. Who could possibly save him now, in a place like this?
It's the spirit of Virgil, the guy who wrote the Aeneid, the greatest poet of ancient Rome, and Dante's absolute hero. In the poem, Virgil stands for the very best of human reason, and he tells Dante, look, you can't get up the mountain this way. The beasts are blocking you. To get where you need to go, you have to take another road.
But here's the thing, Virgil didn't just show up by chance. He explains that he was sent on a rescue mission from heaven by none other than Beatrice, Dante's real-life love, who he saw as a symbol of divine grace. So, while Virgil, who represents human reason, is the one leading the way, it's divine love that's really calling the shots.
So with his courage boosted by this promise of help from heaven, Dante agrees to follow Virgil. But this other road he mentioned, it's not a shortcut to the sunny mountaintop. It's a path down into shadow and judgment. Their descent is about to begin for real.
Virgil explains that to really understand salvation, Dante first has to see damnation up close. He has to journey through the entire afterlife, starting with hell. And so he leads him to this huge, imposing gate, the entrance to the abyss itself.
And carved above that gate are these 9 terrifying words. Talk about a point of no return. It's basically a sign saying, once you cross this line, the very idea of hope is gone forever. It is absolutely chilling. So, the very first souls Dante meets aren't even technically in hell. They're the neutrals. These are the people who, in life, never chose a side. They weren't good, they weren't bad, they just didn't commit. They were so wishy-washy that heaven doesn't want them and even hell won't take them. So what's their punishment? They have to chase a blank banner for eternity while being relentlessly stung by hornets and wasps. In Dante's world, even indecision is a choice, and it's a damnable one.
As they go deeper, you start to see this fundamental rule of Dante's hell. The punishments aren't just random or cruel. There's a terrifyingly perfect logic to them, a kind of symbolic justice.
This principle has a name, contrapasso. The basic idea is that the punishment is a twisted reflection of the sin itself. It fits the crime like a glove. Once you grasp this one concept, the entire structure of the Inferno just clicks into place.
Okay, so let's look at a perfect example. They enter the first true circle of hell,
which is for the lustful. In life, these were the souls who let themselves get completely swept away by the storm of their passions. So, what do you think their punishment would be?
Yep, it's a perfect mirror of their sin. They are trapped for all time in a violent, dark hurricane that throws them around without any rest. Just like they gave in to the storm of desire in life, now they have to endure a literal, never-ending storm in death. That is contrapasso in action. But Dante doesn't just show us these punishments from a distance. He makes it personal. In the middle of this storm, he calls out to two souls who are clinging together, and one of them, a woman named Francesca, tells him her tragic story. She talks about how she fell in love with Paolo, who was her husband's younger brother.
She explains that one day, the two of them were reading a romance novel about Lancelot and Guinevere. When they got to the part about their first kiss, the book itself kind of acted as their matchmaker. Inspired by the story, Paolo kissed her, and as she says, with this incredible, haunting line, "That day no farther did we read therein." Soon after, her husband found out and murdered them both, damning them to this eternal storm. So now, for one forbidden kiss, she and Paolo are stuck together forever, swept around in that violent wind, a constant, painful reminder of the passion that damned them. And this story affects Dante so deeply, he's so overwhelmed with pity for them, that he actually faints.
Fainting from pity, though, is just a brief pause. That compassion is a human feeling he has to learn to move past, because the descent into hell is about to get so much darker. The punishments are going to get way, way worse. The journey has really only just begun.
When Dante comes to, the journey continues downward. In the third circle, they find the gluttons, people who overindulged in life, now forced to lie in this disgusting, freezing sludge while the three-headed dog Cerberus rips them to shreds. Below them, in the fourth circle, are the hoarders and the wasters, who are condemned to forever push these huge, heavy weights against each other. And finally, they get to the fifth circle, and they see the wrathful, just endlessly fighting each other in the foul swamp of the river Styx.
After they make their way across that swampy river, they come face to face with a truly terrifying sight, the glowing red walls and towers of the city of Dis. This is the great dividing line of hell. Everything they've seen so far, those were sins of weakness, of a lack of self-control. But what's waiting for them inside those walls is so much worse.
And we're going to leave Dante and Virgil right there, at the gates of this burning city, about to confront sins that weren't born from weakness, but from pure evil. What horrors lie within that city of fire, where the sins of malice and betrayal are punished? Well, that's the question that pulls us deeper and deeper into the Inferno.